Today we have an accomplished actress with us. Her credits include productions like Soul Food, Castle, 6 Feet Under, The Mentalist, Lincoln Heights, Animal Kingdom, Veep, Colony, Good Trouble, Low Life, and SWAT. Listeners of our podcast will know her as Trish George in The Shield. Nicki Micheaux is here in the Shattered Shield today. How you doing, Nicki?
I'm doing good. You list off all those shows, I'm like, damn, girl's been busy.
Yeah. I was trying to pick ones that I remember you prominently being in and
Oh,
loving.
okay.
So that's actually a favorites list of mine. Definitely,
Nice.
definitely the Shield though. So I wanted to start
Yeah.
with you, like I do every guest, trying to figure out how you actually heard of the production and how you got your role of Trish George. So why don't we start there?
Oh, I think I had heard of The Shield because it really was a hit right out the gate with the pilot. And when I auditioned for it, I knew it was a recurring character, but they weren't looking specifically for a black girl. So I was the only black girl that auditioned for, was all other white girls. And so I was kind of freaked out because usually, when you're the only black girl, you're like, oh, this isn't going to work out for me. So, especially back then, because that was quite some time ago. And but they were open to seeing me, which was really cool. So I auditioned, and it came down to me and one other woman from NYPD Blue, and I just thought for sure she would get it because she had played a cop on NYPD Blue, and I was still really getting started. And the thing that was really unique was to me, Trish was a little special. And I decided to come to the audition in basically what she would wear on the street. It's like if she was undercover in her hooker outfit, and still be a cop. Still have
Yeah,
all of the presence of cop, because I felt like that was the character. She would be in the precinct in a get up from the streets and still command the respect of a cop, because that's who
right.
she was, and she was a badass. But that was really dicey in an audition because, you're going in to play a detective, standard black suit, black pants, black blazer, standard. All the other actresses were in your standard suits, and there I was in a freaking like boots and this little tiny skirt, and the whole time I'm like, oh my God, you're an idiot. What are you doing? you know,
Yeah, yeah,
I was, but sometimes, well, that was pretty early on in my career too, and it's basically all you had was the 5 minutes of the audition. So it was like, you just put your interpretation out there, and that's it. It goes
sure.
where it goes, and if it doesn't go anywhere, well, I did it my way, and that's kind of how I played it. Especially since I was the only black girl in the room, I was like, I have nothing to lose. Um, so I did that, and then they called me back, and I remember reading with Michael Chiklis, and I was so ballsy, just like, I think I put my leg in his chair, like my foot. I mean, I was just really, because Trish was that kind of in your face woman.
Yeah,
And she just had no fear, and I really was bringing it out. And they finally, when they cast me, I think I found out 9 o'clock one night, and I was on set 5 o'clock the next morning. It was crazy.
that's
Um,
nuts.
it was nuts. It was absolutely nuts, but it was one of the most fantastic experiences of my life was working with those guys and doing that show. It was so much fun. But that's how I got the part.
Speaking of, you said like you kind of had an idea of what the character, what you were going to make the
Hmm.
character. The
Yes.
the Shield really doesn't get into backstory for anybody.
Yeah.
They had one episode in season two called Co-Pilot where they delve into it a little bit, but that's it. So your character, coming into it, really has no story, no background or history with the show. So how did you formulate it? What did you come up with for her? Like, what did you
Oh
add?
no, I just put it together. Well, it's so rich in the situations that they put her in, and the
Mm,
way she spoke. I just basically filled in the blanks with my imagination. I can't remember exactly what was the description, but I just knew she was going to go toe to toe with Vic Mackey. That much I knew, and and I knew that that sex was kind of her weapon. Her sexuality was sort of like a weapon,
right.
and to just go with that. And it was, so that's all I remember. And the rest of it, you start filling in some of the the Shield had a lot of dark characters, so I just started
Yeah.
thinking of like, how fucked up is she? I mean,
Right.
how far would she go? And what's her point of view of the world? Why would she see it this way instead of that way? That sort of thing. So you just kind of, they give you so much material in terms of the situation, and then you go, well, what kind of person would put themselves in this situation? and then that's
Right.
how you get your backstory.
Is that like a industry standard thing, or is that just Shield specific?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's some stories. Some writers will give you a really big backstory, but I think you always have the beauty about acting is that's your chance to do your imagination because no one sees your backstory.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can just it just informs how you deliver things, and then it comes down to it's all about art, and everybody has a different taste,
Yeah.
and then like either they like it or they don't like it, and then as you mostly so I wouldn't say that some places you give you more like detailed backstory, but for the most part, you get a chance to create whatever works for you to give them the result that they're looking for.
Right. So when you okay, so you actually kind of sort of answered this question already. You were
Okay.
talking about how quickly you were thrown into that role. I had a
Yeah.
question trying to formulate chemistry with other actors. How much time did you have to do that with the Decoy
Oh
Squad? Because
God.
we're
Yeah.
supposed to believe that they've been a team for a long time and whatnot, and then you've got chemistry with the strike
Dude.
team. So you basically had no time, huh?
No, not really. And I was definitely intimidated. I mean, Michael Chiklis, I mean, playing Vic Mackey, he was
Yeah.
phenomenal. Phenomenal. And then to walk in and then, I'm toe to toe with Vic Mackey, like, okay. So, I think I pulled it off, but certainly there were moments of like, oh shit. And in terms of the decoy squad, which is funny, it must have been one of those things where you just click because I remember everybody on the
Yeah.
team, and we didn't even, and Aisha and I became friends for a while, and so I guess it was just a really great chemistry. We just all kind of clicked really well, and certainly with the guys on the strike team because Kenny and Waylon and David, and I mean everyone is just so cool, and Brian White.
Yeah.
Everyone was just so cool. Something about the Shield, something about that time period was just really magical. And
Yeah.
certain things just came so easy, like the relationships. I mean, you immediately felt like you were in a family.
Right.
And it must hold because I actually still know just about everybody to this day, and that was 15 years ago, a while ago. How long ago was
It,
that?
it's yeah, 16 years ago, I believe, when it first aired,
Yeah,
and
it
then
was a
it went
while
off
ago
the air about a
because
decade ago. Yeah.
I had no children when I shot the Shield, and I have
Right.
two now. So yeah, so that was definitely a minute ago. But it was sometimes the beautiful thing you get a chance to work on shows that just have that magic to them, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah. You had a okay, so a lot of times I'll consult what they call the Shield Wiki, and it's basically a Wikipedia page
Mhm.
for the Shield, and they have Gareth Williams, who played Waylon,
Right.
equaling your episode count at 7. But when I watched
Okay.
through it, I believe he's only in 6. I did not see him in Posse Up, and you were featured in that episode.
Oh, I don't
Um,
know. He probably came through and said something.
he might have. He might have. I might have made a mistake.
Yeah.
I don't want to be too solid about it, but you
Yeah.
and him specifically were heavily featured. So what was that like a
Yeah.
contractual thing?
No. They just they write the stories that they feel like writing.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
You don't. I mean, I don't remember them saying it's going to be this many episodes. I think it just sort of organically grew as the writers. I don't know what their plans are. They live behind these curtains, so as the actor, you don't know until you see it on the page.
Right. Right. Okay. Yeah. See, I didn't know. I'm not like when I come into it, my limited knowledge. I always think there's like this grand plan, and they sign you for a certain amount of episodes. The more
Yeah.
I
Well.
interview people, the more I'm finding out that's not the case.
Well, no, they may have a grand plan, but you don't know
Gotcha.
it.
Okay.
At least I didn't know it.
Gotcha. You have there's a couple of scenes that stick out for me for your character, and there was one where it's actually the entire decoy squad in Streaks and Tips,
Okay.
where they lose a bet and they have to the loser has to streak through the barn. Do you
Right.
remember filming that, and was that something that was proposed to you beforehand, or is that something that just came up out of
Um.
nowhere? What do you remember reading about that and filming something like that?
Well, I remember reading it, and the thing I was trying to remember was what was going to be her point. Like what was she? So you're running through the barn naked, and it was kind of like, did she have what's her point? What's she trying to do with that? So that's what I kind of remember doing, but it really was just so fast. It was just a quick run, and it really just wasn't much of anything. And I can't remember. I mean, I remember shooting it like vaguely. It was quick.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they played it up as this big scene that they contrasted to Brian White's essential exit on the show. So I was
It
wondering,
may
like,
have been, but for me, I can't remember.
we we
I
had
was,
actually just for people who are listening, we had a little conversation about it being so long ago, and it's funny because I wasn't when I first actually started the podcast. I wasn't expecting to get a lot of people interested in coming on, but we've had five or
yeah,
six people from the show coming on now because of that family aspect you talk about
yeah.
feeling on the show.
I think
And
my big thing was having to run naked in front of everybody because it wasn't like, because, a lot of times when you're doing nudity, it's a closed set, but because you're running
right,
through the barn, so it was the camera, the crew, it was fucking everybody, the extras, it was everybody. And you just run around. I'm like, okay.
cracking ice was the other one. Was the other scene that I
Yeah.
remember, which is where she goes undercover. Trish does.
Yeah, I know cracking ice.
Okay. Why does that one
Yeah.
stick out to you?
Oh, that was like my episode. That was great. That
Yeah.
was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was like a mini Trish episode. It was fantastic. And that was when I met Kari, and Kari's on Walking Dead right now. And so that was one of my absolute favorite episodes. It was so much fun to really get a chance for Trish to actually go undercover and get herself into trouble. Actually, I was talking to Glenn at the crafty table or something, and just like, hey, what
Uh
if
huh.
Trish was like a stripper and she goes undercover and gets like, I don't know what the fuck I was talking about, but I was like, and then I was like, oh my god, this is so great. No, it was really fun
Yeah.
because
Okay.
there's a huge amount of characters on the show. So anytime you get to like, have some to really dig a little bit deeper, it was just fantastic. I think did Guy direct that episode? I think Guy directed, and Guy's like amazing. It was really really fun.
For you're trying to say who directed
I think,
Kraken Ice?
yeah, I think it was Guy Ferlin. If I
Yeah, that was Guy Ferland. Yeah.
see how good I remember these
Um,
things. But what I liked about it was such a Trish. It was so great to take her to this really dark place and to
yeah.
start to see how she functioned in this world, and
Right.
why she, like, it was like it was just a chance to just peel back the layer just a little bit. So it was really fun.
Did you use uh, a stunt actor for that last scene? Because she eventually foils a
Oh, the fight
murder.
scene?
Yeah.
No, dude, that was me in like 3-inch heels and nothing on my knees and asphalt below me. And how I did not scrape my knees in that scene is phenomenal because I remember that because I'm wearing this jean made skirt, these high heel thigh
Yeah.
boots, my knees are exposed. So we were doing the scene. I think it was fighting Kari. So we're doing the scene, and they had pads down on the ground, right? So we could roll, and if anything happened, they had pads on the ground. And then they were like, "Yeah, it looks crappy because it doesn't look real. We can't get a shot because we've got these pads. Let's do a couple where we take the pads out." And I was like, "How the fuck am I going to do this scene?" Because all I could think about was scraping my knees on the asphalt. Like that's going to hurt. And
Did they have an option to have like a stunt there
no,
for you,
there
or
was
did
a
you?
stunt girl. There was a stunt double, but they needed a certain
Okay.
amount with me. And I did have to do some of it. And so how I was able to maintain whatever that pose was, and because we did like some serious movement, and I somehow did not
Yeah.
land on my knees, which is like crazy. And I maintained my balance in 3 or 4 inch heels. Don't ask me how I did it, but it was insanity. But it worked. It looked so cool. Looked cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's one of those ones where a lot of times when I'll see scenes like that. Like there's one scene where a cop, Julian, picks somebody up, and I was trying to see if it was Michael Jace or not. I always try to get into those
hmm
shots, and I couldn't find any evidence to prove that it wasn't you.
You know, I'm
Let's
pretty
put it that
sure
way.
what
So it holds
a
up.
lot of it was me. I mean, because of there was something between me and the double in the hair, if I remember correctly. But I did a lot of it. But we had a double. I mean, yeah, we had it. and she went to town. I remember. She was skinnier than me.
What do you find?
So if you look like, oh, there's
Sorry.
that skinny arm. That's not Nikki. That's not Nikki. That's somebody else.
Yeah. In that episode, she actually has to, in order to maintain her cover, she has to do drugs,
Yeah.
and she ends up like, I believe she sleeps with the
Yeah.
suspect, and it's a lot of heinous stuff that you can
Yeah.
imagine in a real situation would be terrible.
Yeah.
And they end up finding out that it was a mistake that Cece's character made, Claudette, where she kind of glazed over a case note
Right.
and got her in trouble there. Your character comes back in Fire in the Hole, which is I think is the last one you appear in, and Trish. When I was watching the episode, it kind of made me feel like it was supposed to be Claudette's way of making it up to her.
Uh huh.
But with the way you played her character, you can't really tell. I believe she even says sorry
Mhm.
to Trish at one point. Trish says, "Oh, it's no big deal, but that could be the Coke talking." Right?
Yeah.
So you don't really ever know
Right.
if
Right.
she had like a big issue with Claudette.
Well,
In your opinion, what do you
that's
think?
actually the last scene of Cracking Ice, actually, in the bathroom because
Yeah,
I go into the office and talk to Benito, and then she meets me in the bathroom. I just think that again, Trish is one of those people that she's not going to let you in. And so that's just more deflecting. So she's not going to be open and even admit that Claudette did something wrong to her, because that would be to admit that something bad happened to her.
yeah,
And so,
yeah.
Trish is all about walls. I mean, that's what makes her fun to play, is because, I mean, and hopefully you get a chance to feel for her. I mean, I fucking loved her. I thought she was great.
I did, and it was always frustrating when I was watching it because I wanted to have that moment where you would like. So many characters would have it.
Yeah,
Benito had his moment where he kind of broke down, and even Chickless
yeah,
does at the end of season
yeah,
one,
yeah, yeah,
and you never get to see that from her,
yeah,
and it's like it drove me crazy.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So you're telling me that was a conscious effort to do that on your part?
Well, yeah. I mean, that just wasn't the place where. I mean, the line is, something, and then, but it could be the code talking. I mean, that's a complete deflection. It's a,
Yeah,
it's a
right,
she's totally deflecting. I mean, you'd have to have
right,
what you would want is the scene you don't see is Trish in the car on the way home. Like that's
right,
that quiet
right,
moment, but that wasn't the story.
right.
You know.
With her toughness
Mhm.
as a character, there's a lot of talk now, in particular, about the strike team. They had different members on there. They would put, eventually, Julian would go on there,
Mhm.
and of course, Tavon would come on. They never had a female member on the team.
Yeah.
So I would always think that she would be perfect to do
Oh
it,
yeah, we
given
were
what we got to
supposed to
see.
do that, but I had booked another show.
Are you serious?
Dead serious. Yeah, no, they wanted me to come back to put me on the strike team for the
What?
following season. They asked me, but I didn't know.
Wow, I never knew
But
that.
I had booked Lincoln Heights, and I was working Lincoln Heights, and I didn't. I don't think I could do two shows. Now, of
Right,
course,
yeah.
that's like. I mean, I wish somehow. I don't even know how I would have been able to pull it off, because I was a very big part of Lincoln Heights. And the Shield is a huge show, and when you're on the strike team, you're in so much of the episode, even if you're just
Right.
in the room. You may not have any lines, but you're there, so it would be a huge time commitment. So it was going to be impossible to be the mother on one show where you're around all the time, and then be on the strike team in another show where you're around all the time. I was like, I don't think I can do it. But no, man, are you kidding me? I was fucking pissed. I was like, I need more time in my day, because I so wanted to do that.
My mind is blown. I've never heard that before, and now I'm kind of like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
frustrated.
No, that. The writers were already there. They wanted it to. Yep, just didn't work out.
Well, let's take a trip into Fantasyland for a second here,
Uh-huh.
okay? Because now we got that opportunity to do that. So,
Yeah.
do you think, had that came about, do you think Trish would have eventually conformed to the way that they did business, the Vic Mackey way, if you will?
Oh, I doubt it, because Trish didn't strike me as a conformer. I don't I
Yeah.
don't I don't know that I don't know. I think that because even when Trish went undercover, she did all of that to bring the guy in.
Right.
She did all that to for justice. So, the type of things they were getting into would have been really problematic, which would have been great drama.
Right. I struggle to think, like, my answer, honestly, to that question, I think she probably would. Only because she seems like she had a lot of chemistry with
Uh
Vic,
huh.
you and Michael Chiklis
Uh
did,
huh.
and I'm wondering if that would have been another egg that could have been cracked, and maybe he could have put like a personal spin on it, because he would do that with a lot of people in his
Yeah, but
life.
it'd be more interesting if
If
she fought against it, because I mean, you always got to have
Oh,
somebody
sure.
go against the grain, which is I think the point of putting Julian's character on there,
Yeah, right,
because he was basically
right,
your
right,
straight and narrow kind of guy.
right. And they kind they kind of had to keep him out of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
What was your what would you say, like, if you had to take? I kind of hate this question because it's a little generic,
Okay.
but it is important. When I had Danny on here, he gave me a really great gem. I want to see if you have any. What was your biggest takeaway from being on that show?
Man, I don't know. My biggest takeaway. I don't know. Really, it gave me a permission to be fearless. It was a big show with big people. It was all of that, but at the same time, I had an artistic space where I could really felt like I could try anything. And so there's a level of fearlessness to it. Also, the characters were so well defined and living on their own edge that you almost had to be the truth, to bring the truth out of the character. You almost had to be fearless.
So I have like this secret evil plot to get Sean to have some kind of follow up to the series.
Uh-huh.
Uh, he might be hearing it for the first time now if he listens, but Trish and yeah, everybody in the Decoy Squad actually has a good ending, which was rare on that show. So would you, if the timing was right, if the story was right, would you like to reprise Trish? And if you did, what do you think she's up to a decade after the end of that show?
Jesus, I don't know what she's up to. I mean, I can't pitch that. But I do, but I would love to see where Trish is at. I mean, it would be so interesting, especially now with all of the gender politics that we talk about, with,
Mm-hmm.
how we're dealing with women in the workplace, women not being able to mess up as a cop. How far has she been able to get? How many bridges has she burned? What is it? Where
Right.
is she still got that take no prisoners attitude? It'd be so interesting to see how she's functioning in the LA Police Department. I mean, because she's a phenomenon to watch. I mean, honestly, does she conform to the system at all? Hell no. But it'd be just so interesting to see her, where she is today. I would love it. Oh no, she'd have to still be out there in the streets because she would still be in there in the thick of it. Like, with her, really, it'd be so interesting to see, what kind of cases she gravitates towards, and because she would be heading towards something like, the Decoy Squad was their version of a strike team. So what is she
Right.
cracking? Is she cracking? There's sex trafficking, there's drug cartel. I mean, there's so much in L.A. You know,
Yeah.
does she have a personal life? Is it completely decimated? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like it just be that kind of stuff. How
I was also very curious to see how she would interact with a disgraced Vic Mackey, having now be known as a cop killer,
oh
if
God.
if that had to
Yeah,
happen.
well, oof, oof, yeah.
That'd be some fun
Yeah,
scenes.
some fun stuff. Some really, really fun stuff. But
All
I
right, that's really all I got for you.
I like it. I
I
dig it.
appreciate you.
All right. Well, I thank you so much.
No problem. If you guys want to keep up with Nikki, she is at Nicki Micheaux on Twitter. What do you have going on now that we can see you on?
Oh, a very lovely show called Good Trouble is on Freeform,
Mm-hmm.
which is awesome. There's a premiere of a new show on the CW called In the Dark, and I think you really
Yeah.
want to check that one out because I get to play into my dark side, which is so much fun. And I'm
Excellent.
doing an arc on Chicago PD, so that'll be coming out when is Chicago PD on Tuesdays? I forget which day Chicago PD's on, but that's going to be a really cool arc where I play the wife of Wendell Price, and he's running for mayor.
Hey, that'll be fun to see.
Yeah, some fun
Excellent.
stuff out there. Yeah,
Excellent. Thank you for coming.
you're so welcome.